Okay, so welcome everyone to join this Adaptation Fund and Green Climate Fund side event on enhancing direct access, addressing common challenges, and accessing climate finance through South-South learning and capacity building. My name is Maria Jose, and I'm heading the Climate Policy Support Program at GIZ in Germany. And I have the pleasure to be your moderator today. The aim of this event is to present the community of practice of direct access entities and an important role supporting accredited entities to access climate finance from GCF and the Adaptation Fund in a more efficient way. Finally, this event aims to create a space for further discussion on challenges that accredited entities face working with GCF and the Adaptation Fund. We have a very exciting lineup of speakers representing the Adaptation Fund, GCF, and CPDAE. We are joined by Mr. Mikko Olikainen, Head of the Adaptation Fund, Mr. Farai Matsiva, Readiness Program Officer at the Adaptation Fund, Ms. Carolina Fuentes, Director of GCA Country Program Division, and Claudia Godfrey Ruiz, Chair of the CPDAE Committee and Innovation Strategic Director at the Peruvian Trust Fund for National Parks and Protected Areas, and Ms. Aissata Sol, Vice Chair of the CPDAE Committee and Head of the Climate Finance Unit at Center of Suivi Écologique, Senegal. We will kick off the event with opening remarks from Mikko, followed by welcoming remarks from Aissata. We will then have two inputs regarding the CPDAE and its readiness support panel discussion afterwards. Finally, there will be a short question and answer, and we will conduct the event with closing remarks from Carolina and Claudia. I would like to hand over to our speaker, Mikko, and then to Aissata for a few remarks to start us off. Mikko, please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you very much. I would like to start by thanking the community of practice of direct access entities, especially the chair of the community of practice, Ms. Claudia Godfrey, and the vice chair, Ms. Aissata Sol, and the whole committee and the Green Climate Fund, who are our partners in supporting the CPDAE as well as the GIZ, who are the delivery partner for CPDAE for organizing this event and all the work they are putting towards this important community. The Adaptation Fund is a leading voice in adaptation and has been a very innovative and nimble fund from the very beginning. It pioneered direct access, which builds country ownership in adaptation by empowering national institutions based in countries themselves to access funds and develop projects directly and receive funding directly. Since 2014, the Adaptation Fund has been supporting enhanced direct access, and in 2020 introduced a dedicated funding window for that purpose under the action pillar of the fund's medium-term strategy to further empower locally led adaptation and support devolved decision-making on adaptation finance at the subnational and local levels. As a nimble fund that works very closely with implementing entities, it was a relatively seamless process for the fund to fully back the community of practice for direct access entities in its inception and subsequent operation over the years. The fund has been actively supporting CPDAE since its inception, and is pleased to note that of the 34 national implementing entities of the Adaptation Fund, 19 are CPDAE members, and I hope that number will continue to grow. The fund is committed to continue supporting CPDAE, implementing its action plan, and has provided personal support for the chair in her work with the community, and to support development and implementation of the community's communication strategy. The fund also attended as an observer the annual meeting of the CPDAE, in Cairo shortly before the COP, I think just 2 weeks ago, and will continue to provide guidance to the community on the Adaptation Fund, its policies and funding modalities as needed. I look forward to seeing an increased number of project proposals by members of the CPDAE submitted to the Adaptation Fund board and approved for funding. Through the CPDAE, we look forward to the community being leaders in the generation of knowledge and in the sharing and exchange of innovative approaches to enhance capacity for programming adaptation finance through both direct access entities and especially through the enhanced direct access route. The Adaptation Fund Secretariat will continue to work closely with GCF Secretariat to complement the support that's delivered to the CPDAE through the readiness programs of both funds, and we would welcome growth of the community's membership growing forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mikko. Aisata, I would like to hand over the floor to you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Very happy and a real pleasure to be here today and address some key welcome. Dear partners and colleagues, the community of practice for direct access entities are very honored to have you to attend this important session, which will be a great opportunity to share important information about this very innovative initiative in terms of approach. But before proceeding, let me express our warm thanks to the Adaptation Fund, the president of the manager, Mr. Mikko, and the secretariat team marks their unwavering support to the CPDAEs. Our thanks also go to the Green Climate Fund for its useful and constant support and for having kindly granted us a framework for discussion and exchange during this COP27. We also thank the GIZ for its technical support and all stakeholders who support this initiative. I want to name the DA, designated authorities, the national designated authorities, and all the members of the community, and all institutions seeking accreditation through the Adaptation Fund or the Green Climate Fund. Thank you all for being here today. As I said in my introduction, this session will give you an overview on the vision and the purpose of the CPDAEs, the important achievement today, short-term programming, the need in terms of technical and financial support. We are convinced that the CPDAEs can be a good accelerator of the access access modality. Once again, thank you for your presence, and please do not hesitate to ask questions. Your suggestions and recommendations are welcome. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Aisata and Mikko. I would like to move to the next session with two presentations on the role of CPDA by Claudia and the GCF readiness support provided to community by Aisata. And I understand Claudia and Aisata, you have presentations, right? So please, Claudia, the floor is yours. And please share with us the importance and role of CPDA as a community and safe space for exchange.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you very much to the GCF, AF, GIZ, and all of you that are here with us and those that are connected. For us, it's an honor to present the community and what has been achieved to date, what we are looking for. This is teamwork Please, I need the presentation. In the screen. Yes. So, let me introduce you, Balbina and Segundo. Those are two indigenous peoples that live in the Amazon. This could be any of the peoples that are vulnerable in our countries, in our regions, and they have as their main resource for living the forest. There, Balbina and Segundo are an example from Peru, but could be any. And these are our main target, to give them the opportunities to adapt and reduce vulnerability. These are the kind of effects, extreme effects and negative impacts that they are suffering day by day. And this is what I want I want to bring your attention why it's important what we're working on. The direct access modality is a mechanism that was created by AF and was adopted by GCF. And the main idea is to enhance country ownership. So some of these key benefits are integrate climate change funding with national climate action plans, and also manage the projects directly by countries tailored to the local adaptation needs. So with this, I am going to introduce you the community of practice. This CPDAE is the community of practice of direct access entities. And why a community? A community because in our journey here, since we got the accreditation, we identified that we need to receive or access to climate finance in a fastest and more efficient way that could attend the urgent needs that we have, as I mentioned in my first slide with Balbina and Segundo. And we have several challenges to access. There are some difficulties that we share among all of our members. And in this slide, we gather together to learn and share. So with this, the CPDAE was born as a global network integrated by national implementing entities and direct access entities, both accredited by GCF or AF, or both, or AF or GCF. And this is a community made of NIEs and DAEs that have similar aspirations in programming of adaptation and mitigation finance to build, to enhance country ownership. So what is our purpose? As you may see, the first, provide an opportunity for knowledge exchange, learning and experience sharing, collaboration and peer-to-peer support within the global scale community. We are a global community, and increase the effectiveness of entities in accessing resources, programming those resources and implementing adaptation and mitigation projects and programs through the direct access modality. So the pictures that you see there, one is the first meeting that we had in 2018 that was funded by AF, GCF, and the African Development Bank. And the second one came with the support of AF and GCF, and Aisata is going to tell more about this in the next slide. So our objectives are three: strengthening the communication, knowledge, and exchange of experience and sharing, development of in-house capabilities, this is so important, and we are going to talk about maybe this in the panel, and support South cooperation between NIEs and DAEs, and future accredited entities. We're talking about the ones that are already in the process of accreditation. We have a committee. This is kind of a group, a team that is working very hard in moving forward the community. We are formed by a group of three 3 languages, French, Spanish, and English. From the French, my colleague Aissata, and my colleague Meriem from Senegal and Morocco, respectively. English by my colleague Sheila from Jamaica, and Micronesia, my colleague Lisa Andon. And from Peru, we are 2, Panama, from Panama, Fundación Natura Rosa, and me, from Peru. And these are our members. We are 32 plus 2 that are sending out their letters during this week. As you may see, we can share common challenges. One of them is the time zone. The other one is the language, but we are trying to do the best to understand our common barriers, our common gaps, and how to learn about our experiences, the ones that are ahead and the ones that are starting to learn how to deal with some issues that we identify. So what has been achieved? I think this is my last slide. The first committee was elected in 2019. We are the first committee. It is going to be an election in March. And then we faced COVID-19. We had an action plan approved in Durban, but we had some delays. But we managed to continue working, and at the end of November 2020, we received the acceptance from the Peru's NDA to lead a readiness proposal, a regional readiness proposal that was presented to the Green Climate Fund. This also was a joint effort with the Secretariat of GCF and AF. And with this, GIZ come with us and join the group. And since then, they are supporting also us. The Adaptation Fund hired a consultant, a short-term consultant that is also supporting us. And in October 2020, we managed to receive 19 endorsement letters for our readiness proposal. So with this, we got the approval with a long period that you can see, with a lot of efforts day by day, but managing to have an annual meeting before this COP last week, two weeks ago, in Cairo. We had 23 members in presence, 3 virtual from the French team. And for us, it's been a milestone to be here telling you what has been achieved to date. And Aissata is going to tell you what is coming. And thank you very much for your questions before the panel.
Thank you very much, Claudia, for this very interesting presentation. And congratulations also to your successful development. So I would like to hand over to Aissata to present the ongoing and planned activity readiness support to CPDAE.
Okay, thank you so much. I will go to give you an overview of our readiness program. And as mentioned, Claudia, we start the activities of the CPDAE since 2019 in Durban, and we have developed our action plan. And when we go through the windows of Green Climate Fund, we have some opportunity to have resources like the readiness program. And through that, we develop our readiness and to have resources and implementing our action plan. Okay, what is the objective of this readiness? The objective is to tackle or to deal gaps related to the strengthening of the CPDAE's governance framework, and to develop a long-term strategy plan, and also to build the capacity of the communities, okay? And we have some detailed activities related to the capacity building, how to develop the design of some project, etc. And the next the objective also is to develop learning product and sharing with us DAEs and NIEs. Okay, it is a readiness building through the capacity building of the windows of the readiness program of GCF, the pipeline development and knowledge sharing and learning. And this program is led by the Ministry of Economy and Finance from Peru, the NDA, and the delivery partner is the GIZ. And when we develop this proposition, we discuss with NIE because we need their endorsement letter to have their financial support. And we have 19 CPDAE members with letter of support from the NDA. And we have 14 countries who give us money to have the budget to implementing the activities. And the 14 countries are Peru, Senegal, Armenia, Benin, Micronesia, Niger, Mexico, Togo, Colombia, and Georgia. Sorry. And as you know, it is an innovative approach because we have many countries, and it is the first type of readiness approved by the Green Climate Fund on December 2021. And the period of the implementation is 24 months. For our partners, all CPDAEs members will participate in the activity design for this readiness, and all NGAs and DAs will be invited to participate in open online training among other relevant activities, such as the monitoring, for example, and evaluation. The main outcome and target is the accreditation process for something like the upgrade. If you for the accreditation, for example, for the Green Climate Fund, in the communities, there are some entities who want to be have their accreditation updated, and this readiness can help us to have this. And also the capacity building support to NDAs or future NIEs who want to be accredited. For this readiness also, we have to develop our governance, okay, and also to develop a pipeline project for DAEs and NIE, and also put in place a roster pool of experts to strengthen capacity in-house in our institution. And the next target or outcome is sharing and learning. And we plan to develop some product useful for our communities. The key expected achievement of the readiness is to have 19 high quality funding proposal or concept note to be submitted to the Green Climate Fund or Adaptation Fund, online training to improve our capacity to design project, climate justification, for example, or logical framework, some kind of activities. The self-assessment tools adapted to the CPDAE's need and challenges for accreditation upgrade. The next key achievement is to support working section between NDAs, DAEs, and their DAEs and NIEs. As I mentioned, we have also to put in place a roster of experts who can design high quality concept note or full project on various topics. And at last, we have to develop also some guide and paper focus on lessons learned and experience sharing. Okay, you see here some key activities planned in the next year, 2022. It is to have our CPDAE strategic and governance. When we were in CARE, all the community put their inputs, and maybe we'll have the last version soon. Also, we plan to have 2 online training, okay, to design project, etc. To project prioritization, priority tools, methodology, roster of experts, see guide paper on lessons learned, as experience sharing, re-accreditation, accreditation upgrades, etc. And the first week in Cairo, we have take our second annual meeting, and the purpose is to see together and to how to say to re-evaluate demand for and commitment to the CPDA, to create a vision, common vision of our CPDA, to review governance, and also to agree on the next step in our action plan. Thank you so much for your kind attention, and sorry for my very bad English.
Thank you so much, Aisata. Perfect. It sounds very interesting. And we will have a question and answer session scheduled for after the panel discussion. So in case you have any question at this point, please write them down, keep them in mind, and ask them later on. So we have to say goodbye to Miko. Thank you so much, Miko, for staying with us. Goodbye. Good luck. No. No, please stay with us, Aisata. So after this very interesting presentations, let us move us to the next session of the agenda, which is a panel discussion. We have Claudia Godfrey, chair of the CPDAE committee, Aisata Sol, the vice chair of CPDAE committee, Carolina Fuentes, the director of division of a country program at GCF, and Farai Mitsawa, the readiness program officer at the Adaptation Fund. So I would like to start with a question to the four of you. Could you let us know how accredited entities and the funds work together to define processes that are suitable for both? Maybe, can I start with you, Carolina? Yeah? You have a mic? Right.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm happy to start. Before that, just to appreciate as well the invitation to the GCF, and also to commend all the efforts that have taken place in the context of the CPDAE. This is a great platform for direct access entities to share experiences and also to improve when it comes to programming and project development, so we can have a greater participation of DAEs in the project pipeline and in the portfolio as well. So many thanks for that, and many thanks to all those here sitting. Now, how we work together in order to improve our processes. Many thanks for that relevant question. The GCF, as you know, is basically a partner organization. We work through our partners. We have 114 accredited entities in total, and a good number of them are direct access entities. We also have delivery partners. So all in all, we have over 200 partners to the GCF. That said, we work through our partners, and the capacities of our partners at the end of the day are the capacities that we have as an organization. So it is in our interest as well that direct access entities are duly capacitated, and that there is alignment between the processes that we incorporate at the corporate GCF level, and also those processes that the direct access entities are able to implement. For that, we always put in place consultation processes when it comes to the development of our strategic plans and to the development of our key strategies. Just as an example, now GCF is ending the first, the the first replenishment period. We call it GCF1, and that is also aligned to our programming period for 2000 that is ending in 2023. After that, we need to plan for the second replenishment and the second programming period that will run from 2024 to 2027. As part of that, we put in place an updated strategic plan that is to be considered by the board next year, and they have started discussions along the lines of the updated strategic plan. But for that, we have collected feedback from different stakeholders, including accredited entities and specifically direct access entities. So your feedback into the updated strategic plan of the GCF will help us as well get the right programming priorities for our upcoming programming cycle from 2024 to 2027. Also, in that context, we're updating our readiness strategy. As you know, readiness is the largest capacity building program for climate action globally, and is one that is also supporting the CPDAE. And we just had a consultation that took place in this very room at 11:30 a.m. this morning. We hosted a number of entities, some of them direct access as well, and national designated authorities who provided feedback. Also, there is a consultation process currently in place. You should have received an invitation to respond to an open questionnaire to send your feedback so we can incorporate that in our updated readiness strategy. Those are some of the avenues that we are using to receive feedback from stakeholders, including DAEs, and to improve our processes. So GCF processes are duly aligned to the capacities and the processes of our direct access entities. I hope that answers. I'm happy to provide further detail. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Farai, what would be your insight on how accredited entities and the fund could work together to define processes that are suitable for both institutions?
Yeah. Well, thank you for the question. And just to reiterate also that the Adaptation Fund is very happy to be invited to this event as an observer and being part of the community of practice. And we're very happy to see the community of practice, the way it has evolved to be what it is today. So the modality of operation for the Adaptation Fund has always been to engage. And that is very important for the fund. We look at ourselves as not just a fund that is supporting adaptation and building resilience in countries, but also as a learning institution. So for us to learn, it's very important to engage with entities and to receive feedback so that we improve on our processes and become more effective in delivering funding. Partnerships is one of the main criteria we use in that modality. We have a mandate from the Adaptation Fund Board to engage in partnerships with like-minded organizations and institutions. And so we broadly partner with a multitude of institutions, and importantly, including with our accredited entities. So we have engaged in joint ventures, hosted joint events with our accredited implementing entities all across the globe. So as part of those partnerships, that is one way we also ensure that there is free flow of information and feedback, two ways, from the funds to entities and from the entities back to the fund. Another issue I just wanted to mention is complementarity. So the Adaptation Fund Board takes direction from the CMP and CMA. And one of the main priorities and decisions coming out of those two forums has been to encourage complementarity by the Adaptation Fund with other entities and other climate funds out there. So we also actively seek through partnerships and other engagements to complement the efforts of other climate funds like the Green Climate Fund, the GIF, and the Climate Investment Funds, but also even complement other institutions and organizations that are working not only under the convention or are operating entities or operating mechanisms under the convention, but even UN agencies and the like. So that is something we actively also do. So in terms of feedback, the feedback that we gather, it's incorporated into the readiness program of the Adaptation Fund. And much like, I guess, what is also happening with the Green Climate Fund, we held our annual seminar for accredited national implementing entities in August recently. And we sent out a survey where we were soliciting raw and honest feedback from the entities in terms of what areas we can improve on, both from on our policies, procedures, and our funding modalities, and how effective these modalities are in addressing the needs and gaps faced by the entities and countries in general. And we have this feedback, and what we usually do is it is fed right back into how the readiness program of the fund is structured, and how the mechanisms we have and modalities for interacting and engaging with countries is tailored and structured. So that is one way. And another way is we fully embrace open and regular engagement with accredited entities directly with the Secretariat. So we've always said, and I should reiterate, that we do not wait for formal events or formal activities to have this engagement. The staff of the Adaptation Fund Secretariat is available to receive emails. Some of them have got mobile numbers that they have exchanged. You are free to send a text and ask a question, and we are open to engaging with you directly in order to give you strategic guidance and direction into exactly what you need to do to address some of the challenges you face in understanding and navigating the fund processes. And this is something we take great pride in being able to deliver that support to you directly and effectively. So please, we encourage you to don't be afraid to reach out. Even if you think the question is a silly question, even if you're just asking, hey, how much is the funding kept under the Adaptation Fund? We'll be very happy to receive that question and give you prompt and immediate feedback. And so these are some of the ways that we have been engaging. And I'm happy to share that through this engagement, we have actually updated one of our templates. It took us 2 months, and we had updated this template for the readiness package, which is a package that's tailored to support accreditation to the Adaptation Fund. So it's just an example of how quickly we can respond when we are receiving feedback, and we operate, just as Miko mentioned, that we're a nimble fund. We are very flexible, and we're happy to continue engaging with you in that way. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Farai. So I hear partnerships, I hear consultation, I hear engagement, I hear open and honest exchange, mutual support. Aisata, what would be your point of view, how the entities and funds could work together to define this process that are suitable for both? What would be your answer to that?
Can you repeat your question,
yes,
please?
Of course.
Sorry.
So what would be your point of view, how accredited entities and the funds work together to define the process that are suitable for both? Or maybe you, or maybe Claudia.
Okay.
The both of you.
Thank you so much for your question. I think that the CPDAE is a good approach, because when we go through the NIE or DAEs, direct access entities, we have the same challenges, okay, and who have the knowledge of direct access entity? It is us, and maybe the secretariat of this fund, like the Adaptation Fund and the Green Climate Fund. But the community is a good opportunity to us, NIE from Peru, from Senegal, to be together and to have an opportunity to talk together. And when I have maybe a question, I can go directly to Claudia or Abdul Aziz from Senegal, for example, to say, okay, I have this difficulty or this difficulty. The other point is the power of the expertise when we want to have a support to have a good project. Because sometimes we hire some consultants or some firm, but the final product is not sometimes very higher. And when we work together and we decide to do, okay, we need this, and to have support and to strengthen our capacity, it is a good thing to achieve comment dire, the limit to access to climate finance. And I think it is a very good opportunities, and we work in transparency. For all, we have the consultation process, and as you know, we have sometimes some language barrier, because we have Spanish, English, and French, and sometimes it is very challenging to work together. But we put in place a mechanism and work with group, Francophone group, for example, French or English. And I think that it is a good thing, and we trust of our community, and we think also it is an accelerator for the direct access modality.
Exactly is what you mentioned. And talking about how we work with the funds, one of maybe the big challenge here is to achieve the adaptation goals, implementing adaptation measures in the ground, taking into consideration that there are organizations like us that can achieve the goals faster and channel the funds in the ground. So maybe we need to identify together what the challenges of organizations like us are. No. How are we dealing with some processes, some guidelines, some windows? Because the funds invest a lot of efforts trying to think how do things better, but maybe we can do it together. So in some cases, yes, the consultation process occurs, but maybe we can build it together, develop together, and shorten the time and processes of the learning. So when one fund creates a mechanism, they give us the opportunity to review it, to give opinions, but sometimes it's difficult to understand it. So maybe we can work together and develop together what is suitable for us. So we are different than the other type of accredited entities. And in some cases, we need to follow the same processes that are mandatory for all. The same templates, the same, I don't want to give some examples of that, but maybe this could be a good opportunity, building trust that was, that started with the accreditation. So with accreditation, we prove that we are the organizations that are in the capacity to work with the funds. So maybe the next step is building this teamwork, building trust, building the suitable windows and mechanisms to work with us.
Thank you so much, Claudia. So I hear a lot of team building, trust, dialogue, the willingness and the needs also of working together. So let me come back to you, Carolina and Farai. What is your perspective on the role that the funds play in facilitating the process by incorporating also the context to define the process, like, for example, reaccreditation? What would be your point of view, Carolina?
Yes, many thanks, and this session has been also very rich for us in terms of hearing from direct access entities, and now also in the interventions just now on how best we can contribute to enhance that cross collaboration, because at the end of the day, we're pretty much the same organization, an organization made up of its partners. So it is very helpful for us to listen to all that feedback. Now, when it comes to support for the creation of the appropriate mechanisms, modalities, and platforms, I think all of those can be considered at different levels, both at the operational level and at the strategic level, so to say. When it comes to the operations, those are aspects where we can receive their direct feedback from the entities, and it is very helpful for us that CPDAE exists, because that is already a network that can help in streamlining the feedback received by a critical mass of direct access entities. And those improvements, operational improvements, can take different forms. One of those is for us to have a better understanding on how to support DAEs when it comes to project development. We know that the capacities are diverse, and that in some cases, some direct access entities require project development technical assistance, and that is something that we can provide and that we have been providing. But refining our understanding of your specific requirements will help us also, as the statements of work are developed, will help us develop those in a manner that really help the capacities of direct access entities. So those are operational improvements that I would say are low-hanging fruits, and those are things that we can implement within the remit of our capacities. Then there are some aspects of more strategic nature, and some which may require also approval of the board. Just to put one example, now in the context of the revised readiness strategy, there is the suggestion of the creation of a dedicated window for direct access entities. This could be strategic as well for DAEs to have direct access to readiness resources, and that will be resources that can help strengthen their capacities, mobilize as well the studies and the tools that they require as they engage in project design and implementation, and also for us to make sure that once the entities have been accredited, they can effectively put a project forward and implement that successfully. That window is a suggestion that we have received as part of the feedback that we have gathered from you and other stakeholders, and that will be part of the updated readiness strategy that will go to the board at B35. This was also requested by the board in a recently approved decision on accreditation. They asked as well that we consider a dedicated window for direct access entities. So those improvements at the strategic level also are part of those aspects where we need to move together, and you're right, Claudia, we need to do this together, and at the same time build trust and build capacity. And we hope as well that we can receive your views on how to shape that direct access entities window in the context of the revised readiness program. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Do you have an answer to this question as well, Farai?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. I think, so accreditation and reaccreditation remains important for the Adaptation Fund. And particularly, we're very happy that there's the community of practice, because we believe that the community makes for more intimate interaction and engagement, and establishes a platform that can have a voice that can be heard. So it's pretty important that the community exists and is there. So the Adaptation Fund has 34 accredited national implementing entities. And of these, of course, 10 are LDCs, 7 are SIDS. And we're looking forward to increasing this number, because direct access is a niche of the Adaptation Fund. It's something that we actively promote and we support, and we're looking forward. The expectation is that we greatly increase this number of national implementing entities. It would be great if out of the 152, 154 odd parties to the convention, all of them have an accredited national implementing entity. So it's very important for us. In terms of reaccreditation, we have 57 implementing entities that are accredited to the fund. 60% have already been reaccredited. But the reason I mentioned this, even though it's 60%, we believe platforms such as the community of practice offer that opportunity where the fund can have direct intervention, where the community has access to the adaptation fund staff, and we will try to also make available experts from the accreditation panel to interact directly with the community members to iron out the issues and try to address some of the gaps and challenges that the community and other implementing entities might be facing going through reaccreditation. I totally agree with what Carolina has said. Capacities do differ and vary greatly within countries. The modality for the adaptation fund is that it is all our processes are country driven. And this is an important point to reiterate, because what it means is we would not proactively approach the country and say, hey, have you forgotten your accreditation process or reaccreditation process is stalled? It is purely country driven because we try to ensure fairness and transparency through all the countries. So the onus is on you to drive the process. But what we can assure you is once you start moving the process and you reach out to us, we promise to respond and engage with you and interact as much as possible and provide guidance step by step if necessary to help you navigate the process. So in terms of reaccreditation, we have also been talking with the Green Climate Fund. We talk to other climate funds as well. And there are synergies and processes behind the scenes where we're working to align our processes or at least make similar processes easier for countries. So for example, we have fast track accreditation that is available right now. If you're accredited with the Green Climate Fund, you can fast track to the Adaptation Fund and vice versa. So these are some processes that, and I guess mechanisms that are available to help ease that process and make it a little easier for entities to go through accreditation and reaccreditation. I think for now that's what I have, but I'll be happy to answer any more questions if they have.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So thanks a lot to the four of you. I'm looking at the audience. If you have any questions, yes, I see someone over there. Okay. Oh, we have a mic over here. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I must commend all four. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
I must commend all four of you for your wonderful presentations and responses you have given to the questions. My name is Judith. I work as the Secretary General for the Congo Basin Commission. So as I listened to you, the more information I got, the more intrigued I became. And one of the things that actually did catch my attention is the process of accreditation or re-accreditation. I don't know to who I should address that question, so I'm throwing it to the floor. So under what conditions would an accredited entity lose, or maybe I should take it the other way around. Does an entity need to seek re-accreditation because they have lost accreditation? If yes, under what conditions would an entity that had already been accredited lose that accreditation? Thank you. I hope I've made myself understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Do we have other questions from the audience? No? Oh, yeah. Don't make me run again.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I am Barazi Abrazak, and I represent the Agricultural Bank of Niger, a national entity accredited to the AF Adaptation Fund. What I want to say, it's like an témoignage of the importance of CPDAE for us, because in our position of AF accredited entity, we build a project with another entities which is accredited to GCF. And with that, we mobilize like $12 million for 40 years and to finance 10 projects which are supported by 10 organizations of producers in Niger. We get the first disbursement in 23 in October. For that, we beginning the implementing. And for that, I want to ask to the GCF and the AF to support this initiative like that we can make or navigate between the two mechanisms to get a project, because when you want to be accredited, it will take a lot of time for us, maybe like 3 years, 2 years for that. And the climate change cannot wait us of all of this time. We need this money quickly, right now, if it's possible, yes, to finance this project of adaptation and mitigation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Kia ora. Thank you, panel, for your discussions. Very insightful. I'm Tessa from the Cook Islands. I'm both the NIE and DAE to the Adaptation Fund and the GCF. So just hearing words, complementarity and synergies, and also coming out of our finance rooms, we're on discussions on guidance to the GCF, GEF, and matters relating to the Adaptation Fund, and then mentioning accreditation process. I think there is some good lessons to be learned from both of the funds. So taking to your boards and seeing if there, we can push for changes in these initiatives. The Adaptation Fund, we were first accredited, then we had fast track to the GCF through that accreditation, and then we had re-accreditation to the AF, which was further fast tracked because we had recently been accredited to the GCF. So GCF, is there initiatives being put forward to align with those processes, because understanding that GCF re-accreditation is a full re-accreditation process. So just wanting to streamline and provide that complementarity as well as collaboration between the funds, but then also looking at your project approval processes as well. I understand that the AF, you are able to submit full proposals without any concept notes. And for GCF, I believe that is only available under the SAP process. But is the GCF looking to also, further harmonize with the Adaptation Fund processes? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I will allow one last question and then come back to you, right?
Thank you. My name is Ramla Msuya from CRDB Bank in Tanzania. CRDB Bank is a commercial bank, a private entity accredited to the Green Climate Fund. And we have already gotten approval of a funding proposal of about $100 million for the agriculture adaptation. So my question goes to the Caroline. Because it was a heavy struggle, preparation of funding proposal, the accreditation process, the funding proposal. So we wanted to know if there is a capacity building or anything, any trainings from the GCF, because I have not seen any that supports the accredited entity from the national accredited entity direct access, because it's very, very difficult to develop funding proposal. Another question is for the Adaptation Fund. I hear that it's only for national accredited entities in the Adaptation Fund. I just wanted to know if a private company has like shareholdings, government shareholdings, is it possible to also be accredited to the Adaptation Fund? And the other question is for CPDAE. What do we do? Because I'm wondering, we are not member of the CPDAE, and I don't know how did we miss it. Is there a link or a form? How do we become a member? Thank you.
Perfect. So we have a lot of questions for you, Carolina, and Farai, but also to you, Aisata, and Claudia. Then we have a second round of questions, but I would like to invite the panelists to answer the questions, please. Carolina, yeah?
Shall I start? Perfect. Yes, no, and thanks everyone for the questions. Yes, we have a question first, I think that was Juliet on accreditation and the conditions for continuing with the accreditation. Just to mention that the accreditation term in GCF is of 5 years. So it is not that there are conditions, it's just that the accreditation has a term, and the term is every 5 years. After 5 years, the entities need to be reaccredited. And as part of this is also a moment in time for the entity to make an assessment of whether they would like to continue with the partnership with the GCF. So that is part of the re-accreditation process. And if that is the case as well, given the fact that the GCF evolves as an organization as well, and there are new policies approved as well, there is a need to make an assessment of the capacities of the entity vis-a-vis the newly adopted policies and any new developments as well. In terms of the track record of the entities also change. They have more investments, more projects, and the track record of the entities is also something helpful to be assessed as part of the re-accreditation. But it's not that there are conditions to continue being accredited. It's rather that we have accreditation terms every five years. Now on the question from Niger, happy to learn that you have mobilized funding for this project, and that this project is engaging stakeholders at the local level. These are the type of projects that we are seeking. We always seek projects that can mobilize local stakeholders and engage them as well as part of the project design and implementation. It would be advisable as well to engage with the NDA to identify if the project is aligned to their priorities and how this can be presented if that's aligned with the priorities of the NDA. If this can be presented to the fund for consideration, and at some point also going through the approval cycle, including as well up to the way of board approval. One of the options that could be explored, and for that also the NDA would need to request that in the context of the readiness program, is the provision of project development technical assistance that can be provided through readiness as well at the request of the NDA. So the project proposal can be refined before submission, so it can go faster, as you mentioned, it can go faster through the approval process. Now on the, on the complementarity across funds, I'm taking note as well of that suggestion. We have a framework of collaboration with the Adaptation Fund and with the GEF as well, and we're trying to harmonize our processes as much as we can. And of course, accreditation is one where we are already collaborating, and we have the fast track as well. So it would make sense to explore much further how we can continue collaborating when it comes to accreditation. So this is one that I'm taking with me as well, and I will continue discussions with colleagues in the Adaptation Fund to make things easier for you as well when it comes to re-accreditation. And I think those are the questions that I captured, but happy to come back if I missed anything. Yes, that is right. That was about, yes, trainings.
The capacity
Many thanks for
building.
the reminder. Yes, what we have, and that is available in the website, and those are support tools for project development. We have sector guides. We have a number of sector guides that can guide you on how to develop funding proposals in each of the sectors that we support as part of our results areas. And also we have an appraisal manual that is available in our website. And basically what that is intended to do is to provide transparency to both the NDAs and the stakeholders and the AEs and direct access entities on the review criteria, the appraisal criteria that we use for funding proposals. So when you develop your funding proposal, you already develop that against the review criteria that we will be using, so that can assist you as well as you develop your funding proposal. And just to mention again that we have also project development technical assistance if requested by the NDA, so we can provide someone that can assist you throughout the process.
Yeah, so thank you for the questions, and I think the first two are pretty much even from the Adaptation Fund side, what Carolina explained exactly. So in terms of accreditation to the fund, it's also valid for 5 years. And then after which period you have to go through re-accreditation. But the reason it's 5 years, of course, processes do change within the funds, but the board decided that within 5 years, processes might also change within the entity. You know, policies might change, The entity might go through restructuring depending on the type of entity it is. It might have a change in management and all of those things. So it's necessary after 5 years to reevaluate those policies and just make sure that they are still aligned and functioning as they should. So accreditation is 5 years. So I wouldn't talk so much about losing accreditation. You'd need to work very hard to lose accreditation, at least from the adaptation fund side. The board really tries to work with entities to ensure that accreditation and reaccreditation goes on smoothly and that it is maintained. 18 months before your accreditation expires, the Secretariat will actually notify you and say, hey, you've hit the 18-month mark, you need to start the process of reaccreditation. And from that time moving forward, the Secretariat works with you to support you in this process and guide you into obtaining that reaccreditation. So that would be on that point on reaccreditation. Pretty much on projects as well, it's similar. So the Adaptation Fund, only accredited entities can submit proposals and projects for funding. So in that case, it's great that you have actually started this initiative, but I guess my advice would be to approach the accredited entities in Niger, because those are the ones that can actually submit proposals. Usually they are very receptive and you can have a conversation about what your proposal and activities are, and they can maybe incorporate it when they submit proposals for funding to the Adaptation Fund. There are also regional implementing entities accredited to the Adaptation Fund and multilateral implementing entities, and you can approach those as well, because they also tend to submit proposals and you can have a discussion with them. For us, these are conversations that happen in country, and the fund tries not to interfere with in-country coordination, in-country conversations, which may have, there are a lot of dimensions involved in in-country coordination. So we usually take a step back and we take proposals as they are submitted to us and review them accordingly. So we would leave that conversation entirely up to you and the implementing entities, but of course we can suggest that you approach them and they will be open to those kind of discussions. So regarding the question on private sector, the Adaptation Fund does not prescribe what type of sector can be accredited to the fund in terms of the type of the name of the institution and where the organization is coming from. So these are country-driven processes. The focal point of the Adaptation Fund, who's the designated authority, we call him designated authority, nominates an entity. And the idea is that the focal point is an individual, which is different from the Green Climate Fund. It's not an institution, it's an actual individual who's appointed by the minister or a member of cabinet. The idea behind that is that this focal point represents the priorities and interests of the country. So when the focal point nominates an institution or organization, that process of nomination and that organization is aligned to the priorities, the projects that the country needs to put forward and the like. We have different types of entities accredited by the fund. We have NGOs, we have government departments, we have parastatals, which are part public, part private. So there's nothing that keeps the focal point or designated authority of your country from nominating you as an entity to go through the accreditation process of the fund, even if you're private sector. That is, we perfectly accept that. The only thing is the focal point needs to nominate you. Actually, because you have accreditation with the Green Climate Fund, we would be very interested in engaging with you because you've already gone through a similar process and you are aware of the requirements and things like that. So please, I would encourage you to take that conversation up with the designated authority for the Adaptation Fund in your country, and we look forward to receiving your nomination. Thanks.
Perfect. This sounds very good.
I just want to add one recommendation on the table related to accreditation. Yeah. I think that when an institution seek an accreditation, it's okay, it's good. Go through the process, but in parallel, you must develop a strong portfolio of project. It's important because sometimes institutions take many times to have an approval process, an approval project in the 5 years. That it's important to develop also a strong portfolio of project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aysat. So I see peer learning and knowledge exchange is already taking place here. So, but Claudia, your answer, please.
Yes, to answer the question about how to be a member, there are 2 ways. The first, the Adaptation Fund hosts us in their webpage, so you can find there the template is a letter that your organization needs to send us, designating the first and second focal point, and that's it. You become a member. And what I wanted to reinforce in my message is that peer-to-peer exchange and collaboration reduces the learning curve, avoids other members to fail, as some of us that fail in some moment, and at least identify what are the issues. So what are the issues that you need to take into consideration? Prevent wasting time, underline what is important, what is not important, and allows you to prioritize what is going to be like my first, my second, my third. Save resources, time, and budget, and also achieve your goals faster, in the faster way. So becoming a member, you can take advantage of all our knowledge, all what we how is this in Spanish? Is
Spanish?
We learn what we learn and experience in all this. My organization was accredited in the first stage of accredited entities by GCF, and we learned a lot. We had reaccredited. The first project approved globally was us, the FP001, and we can give you a lot of information on what to do, what not to do. So that's the importance of the community. There are a lot of organizations that are connected in live stream, also wondering how support others that are not members now, but can support us in many ways.
Thank you so much, Claudia. So I open up for a second round of questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Apollina Yonvi. I'm a General Director of Environment and Climate Fund of Benin, accredited entity of GCF and Adaptation Fund. My question is regarding peer-to-peer learning, which ensures best practice. I just want to know how the community of practice will talk about the accreditation panel during the reaccreditation of accredited entity. Which is the role of the community of practice to help the accredited entity to go increase in the reaccreditation process. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I ask this question because it might sound really stupid to you, the experts of this financing windows and initiatives. But to us, it is becoming increasingly a very daunting task because we work for a regional organization. So in our organization, we have put up projects for climate to assist member countries in building resilience and adapting the uses of water to climate change. But increasingly, as I say, it's becoming difficult to access the funds. So I want to find out is it possible for a regional organization that we are to benefit from this to become a direct access entity? I don't know how it works, but is it possible? What guidelines can you give us? And maybe before I hand over the mic to the moderator, I'm seeking a personal engagement with one of you, so I can carry this conversation after this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we have a third question over here.
Thank you very much. Samuel from Ghana. I'm happy that this meeting brought together myself and our DA from Senegal. Ashata, this is the first time we are meeting face to face. They are our delivery partner for the first CSO readiness that was approved for Ghana. My first question is, what are the requirements for an institution to apply for a status of a delivery partner? The second one have to do with what is the status of the policy on co-financing at the GCF. What is the status now? Is it going to be applied? Then the last one will have to do with, your minimum grant for the full proposal is about $10 million. Now, you have small community organizations, women groups in local communities doing fantastic job. It is just impossible for them to put a project of $10 million together. Is the GCF or the adaptation fund thinking of coming with an innovation that will allow these smaller organizations to come for maybe $500,000, $1 million, and the rest? Then, on accreditation, what is the risk if an accredited entity for the 5 years, never submitted one project, no concept? Like Aishata said, you don't have the pipeline of projects. So for 5 years, you couldn't get your constituency or people to bring you a concept note. What happened to that accredited entity? Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we had a magic moment over here. So Carolina and Farai, could you answer those three questions for me, and then coming back also to you, Aisata and Claudia?
Perfect. So I'll go first, and my colleague from the Adaptation Fund will continue.
Yeah.
Just responding the question of Juliet, because I think that there was a question on the CPDAE,
Yes.
and I will not address that question, but the question from Juliet on how work with regional, how an organization that is working at the regional level can become a direct access entity. Yes, this is possible. An organization that is aiming to become a direct access entity needs to be nominated by the national designated authority of the country, as mentioned by my colleague from the Adaptation Fund. Six member countries. It could be one of them. And actually, given the fact that you have 6 member countries, the accreditation could be as a regional direct access entities. We have national and regional direct access entities. The nomination needs to come from the NDA of one of your member countries, so it can be considered. As mentioned, we're also a country-driven organization, so it is the NDAs of the country or countries that are to nominate the direct access entities for accreditation. Once the nomination takes place, there is a need for an accreditation process to go through. The entity needs to go through that accreditation process. At the moment, we're facing some bottlenecks and challenges in the accreditation pipeline. We have a long queue of applicants, more than 140, and our processing capacity is of around 15 entities. So just to mention the current status, We have brought this situation to our board. The board has mandated and provided guidance in terms of prioritizing re-accreditation and also the accreditation of direct access entities in developing countries that have no funded activities and that can contribute as well to the priorities in terms of programming. So just to mention the guidance that we have from the board and also the situation when it comes to accreditation. Now on the question on Ghana, I think Samuel, on requirements to become a delivery partner. Well, we have a financial management capacity assessment process that needs to be undertaken for an entity to become a delivery partner of the readiness program. This basically is an assessment of the fiduciary capacities of the entity to manage the grants and also to comply with GCF policies, fiduciary policies, policies on integrity, gender policy, indigenous peoples. So that is part of the assessment that is done, and you can find the template in our website. It is called FMCA, Financial Management Capacity Assessment. On the co-financing policy, we don't have a co-financing requirement in GCF. There are a set of policies still under consideration by the board, including this one. So there is no decision on the co-financing policy, but there is no co-financing requirement. When it comes to smaller projects, we have our SAP now has been increased to up to 25 million, but we can have smaller projects than that. There is no limitation on the floor for the funding that can be provided. However, we also have the readiness program that is for NDAs and for countries. That is more for capacity building, and precisely we manage grants that are up to 1 million. We have 500,000, as you mentioned, or less, or up to 1 million per country per year. But that is for capacity building, so countries can create a foundation for funding proposals. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Having time in mind, because I think we need to close like in 7 minutes, but please, Farai, feel free to answer.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll be very brief. I think the short answer to your question about getting accredited to the Adaptation Fund as a regional implementing entity, the short answer is yes. And I saw my colleague who's in charge of accreditation reach out to you already. So please, we can have a separate conversation and we can discuss exactly how you can go about that. But also bearing in mind that the community of practice is a community of, well, direct access entities. So from the Adaptation Fund side, if you don't have accreditation with the GCF as a direct access entity, then you might not be part of the community, I guess. So in terms of the question on funding small size projects, so that is entirely possible under the Adaptation Fund. You can submit, the funding cap per country for the Adaptation Fund is currently at $20 million, but you can submit much smaller project than that. And it is up to the country's priorities and needs to submit the size of the project depending on the context. We also have an innovation facility, innovation funding window that is specifically tailored to enabling communities, civil society-based organizations, community-based organizations to submit proposals for funding with money coming from the Adaptation Fund. The innovation facility is being managed by UNEP and UNDP, and you can contact them directly to submit your proposals. Of course, you would need to follow their criteria that they have established for those kind of proposals. So it's totally possible, and projects can be as small as $250,000. The only thing is they need to be innovative because it's an innovation funding window. So the issue about if you get to 5 years and you're accredited without submitting a project, so I have to be honest, this is a problem, and it will create a problem for your re-accreditation, because when the panel is looking at your re-accreditation application, they look at that as well. They look at the extent of you implementing a project and how you have manage the finances for implementation of that project. It makes their job a little difficult if there is no projects to look at. And the assessment then, these are some of the issues and challenges that during those 5 years, when I was saying, please feel free to reach out to the Secretariat, and especially if you're a member of the community of practice, to be able to engage with peers in terms of what are the challenges you're facing getting a project off the ground. And it would be good for us to know and be privy to that information and some of the challenges you're facing, because it's absolutely critical that you have a project running before your accreditation. Because if you don't, it's going to be an obstacle, because they do look at that. And that's part of the financial and fiduciary criteria they assess in terms of your accreditation application. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aisata and Claudia.
Okay. Relate to this point, I think that it is important before engaging or before going to see the adaptation fund or the green climate fund. It is important to know what is the fund, what is the kind of criteria for the finance. Okay, and also it is important to have a good dialogue with the NDA or a DAE, because he is a main actor to lead the programming of the climate action in the country. That means that it is important to have to put in place in our countries some action, and to coordinate our action, the programming, the strategic document before coming to the adaptation fund or green climate fund. It is very important. Thank you.
Short comment. Organizations that take the decision to go through an accreditation process, from our point of view, take the right decision, because the accreditation make better organizations, accountable, responding. And I think in our case, I think most of our organization put in place very important policies, safeguards, standards. So with all that, the next step, as Aisata mentioned, is now projects. And we need to face some challenges also, because we need to fill gaps and pass barriers regarding institutional capacities, specialization, understanding what is important, what is suitable, what is needed in the ground, and what it also fits with the national priorities that we have, national action plans, and etc. So yes, again, our community is developing trust among the members. It's like the first step. We are trying to engage all the members and start this collaboration. And also, for example, a question that, how can I do this? What is the template? Who is the contact? So these are maybe simple questions, but very important steps to build the community. So all of the DAEs and NIEs are very welcome to be part of the community. And thank you very much for all the support, Carolina, Faraji, in name of the both funds, and also YESET, that is very supportive with us.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claudia. This could be final remarks, but I would like to invite also Carolina to do a wrap-up, and also to you, Claudia, because we are running out of time. This has been super interesting session, and please, Carolina, final wrap-up, and Claudia.
Yes, very pleased to do so, and I think I have an easy job now because most of things have been said already. Just to reiterate also the importance of CPDAE in filling a critical space, a space of peer learning among direct access entities that can share also common challenges and common solutions to the issues that are common to all DAEs when it comes to the need of the creation of capacities, understanding much better GCF processes, identifying how best to prepare funding proposals and to take them all the way through to approval, and after approval, all the way down to implementation. So all of that is part of the space that CPDAE is addressing and is filling, and we're grateful for that. And also along those lines, we commend the work of the community of practice and the committee for their tremendous leadership. Also GIZ as delivery partner of the Readiness Grant, and the Adaptation Fund as well for their support, and also for enhancing our collaboration and complementarity. We think that this is helping countries as well in ensuring that there is country ownership on their proposals, that we move increasingly towards the development of projects that are climate resilient and low emission, so countries can implement effectively the LTS and their NDCs, their NAPs, their climate strategies. We are very supportive of this initiative and will continue engaged, and we're grateful for everyone's engagement. Thank you so much, and a pleasure to be part of this meeting.
Thank you so much for this very interesting panel, also for the speakers. Thanks again, and also to the audience. So I'm wishing you a very good day. Good luck, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.